For years, America's biggest companies seemed almost unstoppable. They survived financial crises. They adapted to the rise of the internet. They embraced smartphones. They navigated supply chain disruptions, inflation, and changing consumer habits. Every challenge seemed temporary. Eventually, they found a way forward. But today, a different kind of problem has emerged. It's not a recession. It's not weak consumer demand. And surprisingly, it isn't a shortage of money. In fact, many of America's largest companies have record amounts of cash and access to billions of dollars in financing. Yet despite all those resources, they're facing a challenge that money alone can't solve. It's a problem that's forcing CEOs to rethink long-term strategy, infrastructure, hiring, and even how their businesses operate. And it's quietly becoming one of the defining business stories of the decade. Here's why. For most of modern business history, scale was one of the greatest competitive advantages. The larger your company became, the easier it was to negotiate with suppliers. The more customers you attracted, the more profitable your operations became. The more employees you hired, the more work you could accomplish. Growth naturally reinforced itself. That strategy created many of today's largest corporations. But the business environment of 2026 looks very different. Being large is still valuable, but it's no longer enough, because today's economy rewards businesses that can adapt faster than competitors, not simply those with the most resources. And that's where the new problem begins. Technology is advancing faster than most organizations can comfortably absorb. Artificial intelligence is evolving at an extraordinary pace. Cloud infrastructure continues expanding. Cybersecurity threats grow more sophisticated every year. Digital tools improve almost continuously. Keeping up isn't simply about buying the latest software. It's about transforming entire organizations. Large companies often operate with thousands of employees spread across multiple countries. They rely on systems built over decades. They serve millions of customers every day. Changing even one important process can affect dozens of departments. Modernizing a business of that size isn't like upgrading your phone. It's more like rebuilding a city while millions of people continue living inside it. Operations can't stop. Customers still expect reliable service. Employees still need access to critical systems. Revenue still needs to flow. That complexity makes change slower than executives would like. Ironically, the size that once created competitive advantages can sometimes make transformation more difficult. Another challenge is infrastructure. The biggest companies increasingly depend on enormous amounts of computing power. Artificial intelligence, cloud services, data analytics, cybersecurity, software development, every one of these activities requires digital infrastructure operating around the clock. That's why technology companies continue building massive data centers across the United States. But securing enough computing capacity isn't always easy. It requires advanced semiconductor chips, reliable electricity, networking equipment, construction projects, specialized cooling systems, and skilled engineers. Even companies with enormous financial resources can't instantly build all of that infrastructure. Time remains one resource nobody can buy. Talent presents another challenge. The largest companies aren't simply competing for customers anymore. They're competing for highly specialized people. Software engineers, cybersecurity experts, electrical engineers, AI researchers, cloud architects, operations specialists, project managers. Demand for experienced professionals continues growing across nearly every industry. Finding the right people has become just as important as developing the right products. And even the biggest companies can't hire talent that doesn't exist. Training employees has therefore become a strategic priority. Businesses increasingly recognize that long-term success depends on continuous learning. Employees need new technical skills. Managers must lead changing organizations. Teams have to adapt to new digital tools. Learning is no longer something businesses do occasionally. It's becoming part of everyday operations. Then there's energy. Few people realize how much electricity modern businesses now consume. Large data centers supporting cloud services and artificial intelligence require enormous amounts of power. Utilities across America are expanding electrical infrastructure because demand continues rising. Some companies are even exploring direct partnerships with energy providers to secure reliable long-term power supplies. 5 years ago, few executives expected electricity availability to become a major strategic discussion. Today, it's increasingly part of long-term planning. Customer expectations have also changed. Consumers want faster service, smarter digital experiences, instant support, reliable online platforms, frequent innovation. The challenge is that expectations keep rising. Every improvement introduced by one company quickly becomes the standard everyone else is expected to meet. Businesses can never assume they've finished improving. The finish line keeps moving. Cybersecurity has become another major concern. As companies become more connected through digital systems, protecting those systems becomes increasingly important. Security is no longer just an IT responsibility. It's a business-wide priority involving leadership, operations, legal teams, compliance specialists, and employees throughout the organization. One successful cyber attack can disrupt operations, damage customer trust, and create financial losses measured in millions or even billions of dollars. Building resilience has become just as important as building new products. Wall Street understands these challenges. Investors increasingly pay attention to long-term infrastructure spending, digital transformation, cybersecurity investments, and workforce development. Quarterly earnings still matter, but increasingly markets also want to know whether companies are preparing themselves for the next decade. Businesses that demonstrate long-term adaptability often inspire greater confidence than those relying solely on past success. History shows why. Many dominant companies failed not because they lacked money. They failed because they underestimated how quickly industries could change. Today's executives know that lesson well. That's why corporate America continues investing heavily despite economic uncertainty. Not because growth is guaranteed, but because standing still has become one of the greatest risks in business. Of course, no company has every answer. Some investments will disappoint. Some technologies won't develop as expected. Some strategic decisions will prove expensive. That's inevitable during periods of rapid transformation. But the businesses most likely to succeed won't necessarily be those with the biggest budgets. They'll be the ones capable of adapting continuously while maintaining the trust of customers, employees, and investors. And that's the new problem facing America's biggest companies. Success is no longer determined simply by how large you become. It's determined by how quickly you can evolve. Because in today's economy, money can buy technology, it can build factories, it can construct data centers, it can fund research, but it can't buy time. And in a business world that's changing faster every year, time may be the one resource even America's biggest companies can no longer afford to waste.